Gaming channels are doomed. Kids channels are doomed. Lego channels, animation channels, they're all doomed, right? There's a lot of fact and fiction being spread around right now. And I think a lot of people are kind of scared and have these ideas of what's going to happen. And they're telling other people this, and now it's being spread around as being fact. So I want to debunk some of the myths versus the truths, talk about some of the things that we know are true for sure right now, things that we're not sure about, and also respond to a lot of comments on a previous video that I had where this news, when it first broke, I kind of broke down what's going on, and a lot of people had questions like, how is this going to affect my channel? So everything that I've learned so far from listening to what YouTube has put out there and different experts and just, being in contact with YouTube and figuring out what they're putting out there, I'm going to answer some of the common questions that I got on that previous video, and that should give you a better idea whether you're a viewer or a content creator for a lot of different types of channels, kind of where you sit, and give you some more clarity so you know what the best path is to move forward with. Definitely you'll want to check out that video. I'll link you to at the end as well, because that's going to give you some more information as far as ways that you can, if this is going to affect you, to make your traffic more steady or your views more steady, and ways to make your income more steady, because it will affect a lot of creators. The amount of people seeing their videos and notified of their videos, it's going to affect a lot of people with the revenue that they make. So a lot to consider, and definitely you'll want to check that out. As always, drop any comments throughout this video with your thoughts on anything so we can get the conversation going and help each other out. That being said, let's dig into the first one. The first one's a big one. It's a whopper. Raven Faye Bowie says, YouTube is digging a nice big grave for itself. It'll be dead soon, just like MySpace. I disagree on that, simply for the fact that MySpace I would equate to being more like Facebook or possibly kind of Instagram. I'd say more Facebook than anything, where the platform is built more on connection and whatnot, and being able to share, your personal profile. Now, don't get me wrong, there's an element of that social element to YouTube and sharing, your personality and putting what you want out to the world. But it's much more built on, the search algorithm. You can put content on there, and it's, long-term really, really helpful for people, and they'll continue to find it. They'll continue to be put in search and suggested and the home feed, right? As long as YouTube is finding it helpful for people or entertaining or whatever the case may be, if it's keeping people on the platform. I can definitely see that these changes will affect a lot of creators and maybe discourage them. The thing is, there's so much, of this happening from the FTC, the federal government of the United States, basically pushing this on YouTube. So it's not like it's just a YouTube thing. It's like all the internet type thing. YouTube's kind of like one of the big players, and that's why it's made so much news. But you better believe, like all these other platforms, number one, they're probably scared and putting precautions in place to prevent this happening to them, because they don't want to get a big multi-million-dollar fine. And on top of that, like, FTC is probably going to start cracking down on some of these other companies that maybe are doing similar practices with kids' data and things like that. So I don't think it is the end for YouTube, honestly. Next question is from White B68. Says, the real question is how many of these ads are targeted ads? This will answer how the monetization for kids-related channels will be affected. They didn't say all ads, just target ads, which is correct. So a lot of people are saying that YouTube kids channels, like, monetization is over for them. It is done. That's not true. They're just not going to be having targeted ads on content that is aimed for a kid audience. Okay, so if YouTube believes, or if you as a creator say, hey, this video is for kids, then YouTube is not going to show targeted ads on, which basically means like the advertiser can pick exactly, what videos to put it on, what audience to get in front of. And so what's going to end up happening is, hopefully, the hope is they'll be moving to more contextual ads. Now, the thing with that is advertisers prefer the targeted ads. So, YouTube's trying to get more of these advertisers to start using contextual ads. And until that happens, these creators are just going to make far less money because there's less targeted ads on their content. So that's where I think there's a lot of confusion. And like this guy says, it's just a matter of how many targeted ads are on the content, how much can YouTube convince, or how much are these advertisers going to be willing to put, other types of ads on these videos and this content. So, it's definitely going to have a big impact for sure. From the get-go, when these changes go into effect, there's going to be a big change in the amount of money that these creators see. So only time will tell, but it's definitely either way. I'm going to say right off the bat, probably going to take some time to get that ad revenue back up to where it was, if it ever does. Like there's a really good chance it'll never get back to that level. But that doesn't mean there will be no ad revenue. So here's a good one from Premier League XD. It says, do you think all bricks is in danger? Or all new bricks is in danger? It's a time-lapse Lego build channel. So there's like a really good specific example. I don't know. I'm going to be 100% honest. Like, if I don't know, I don't know. Like, that kind of content is obviously going to be very appealing to a kid, but I could see an adult equally enjoying that content. So, again, it's one of those, like, channels like that are kind of in a gray area. And what I'm always going to tell you is, like, do what you can. If you don't want to be looked at as gearing your content for kids, then do what you can to make it maybe a little more adult level through the language you use. Maybe use a little bit bigger words. Maybe be slightly more edgy. I'm not saying necessarily to like start swearing and doing violent things, because that's going to get you in trouble on the other end of the spectrum. But anything you can to make it seem like it's more for adults can help you if you want to do that. Again, you got to think about the way you're presenting your content and the way you're talking on camera, the things that you're showing and how that's going to affect it. And again, even then, like when it's Legos, there's no guarantee, because obviously a lot of kids love to play with Legos. Granted, there's a big Lego adult community out there as well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that YouTube's going to see it that way. If your video's about Legos, you're trying to gear it for adults, they still might say, well, yeah, but a lot of kids are going to like this. Again, I don't know, but I think if you really want to try to like stay away from that kids audience, you got to do your part now to see how you can make the content more geared towards adults. Next one is from the Happy Scientist. He says, it seems to me that all YouTube would have to do is say that everyone under 14 must use a kid's account, and then don't collect the info from these accounts, don't send notifications to those accounts, and don't let those accounts post comments. If a kid uses an adult account, that is not YouTube's fault and not our fault. Something that simple would fix the problem without wrecking people's revenue stream. So here's where like all these issues really start from is you have to be over 13 years old, or is it 13 or above? It's either 13 or above or above 13 to even open a YouTube account. So there really should be no YouTube Kids, right? There should be no content for kids if you think about it. Or, well, I guess not necessarily, because I guess adults could open content for kids. That's another ball of wax as far as kids being in the content, and that kind of ties in with this. Well, no, actually, I take that back, because, yeah, if someone under 13 signs up, then, yeah, they could be watching the content. But that's where, like, all these issues started is adults were signing up for the account, and then their kid takes the iPad or the iPhone or whatever the adult, or device the adult had, and now the kid is watching content on YouTube. And that's where all of a sudden now YouTube content started coming onto the platform, because people started realizing this. So it's kind of, I get what he's saying, and I like the idea, but at the end of the day, the FTC says no. They say, well, we don't really care if, we're not going to say, like, it's up to YouTube to decide this, like, and it's the YouTube's fault or the parents' fault. The FTC is not seeing that differentiation, because they know that, like, what? At the end of the day, kids are still seeing these ads. I like the idea. I like the sentiment. But basically what this comes down to is the FTC has said otherwise. So I like the solution, but I don't think it's something that's going to happen. XTV producer, a friend of mine actually, Jennifer Moore. She says, while my content falls in the sweet spot of squeaky clean adult, it is frustrating that YouTube and other big tech companies are making moves for their platforms to resemble traditional polished TV media. YouTube's success was largely based to the popularity of content that was not what you would see on TV. I get that why they are doing this, but I feel this will squash many creators from making great, albeit edgy or out-of-the-box content, because it is not sustainable. Many independent news channels are being hit hard, even though they are relatively tame and cover the same topics as establishment media outlets. So there's a lot to unpack there. And I think she's right, and I'll have another video I'll link you to at the end, because it sounds like YouTube is testing like these videos that are a little edgier and not suitable for all advertisers, some ways to really help those creators out. As far as the kids go, like, then now that's kind of gone. So, like, that the kids content, well, I shouldn't say it's gone, but there's going to be less of it on YouTube. But that kind of content is, something that you would also see on traditional TV, albeit, at certain times of the day or certain channels, Cartoon Network, whatever the case may be, even that as adult content. But I really hope YouTube does take extra steps to, keep some of the edgy content on YouTube. Because again, she's right. That's kind of what makes YouTube unique and different. You can get different people's perspectives. You can see things that wouldn't be on TV. You can get some of that kind of weird and edgy and whatever else content. So I agree. Next one, Diecast Norms says, but how will this hurt animators and toy reviewers? Now, this is going to cover a lot of people, this response here. People that create and watch animation and anime. This will affect people in the creative ends totally. So, animators and toy reviewers, again, it's all about context with like how the content is made and how it's presented and the way YouTube perceives that content, like as far as the audience it's being pushed to. So if your content, again, is like super like colorful and you talk like, have like maybe cool little voices, or you talk like you're talking to a kid, then you're really increasing your chances of that content being looked at as for kids. That being said, like there's, people that do animations and anime and stuff that's a little more geared towards adult. Their content's about that, or toy reviews for that matter. There's certain adults that like to collect certain like action figures and things like that, or dolls and things like that. It's really up to you as the content creator to do everything in your power to try to make it geared towards adults. And again, there's no guarantee because of the nature of the subject. Now, when we're talking like animation and things like that, like sometimes that stuff has a little bit of like violence or whatever, right? It just depends on what we're talking about, what kind of animation. But I know there's certain like comic book characters and stuff like that where, the animation could potentially get sort of bloody or gory or whatever. Well, then that's not kid friendly, right? Or maybe the language is a little bit more adult level as far as how big the words are, or maybe a little bit of cursing. Now, again, like that puts you on that other end of the spectrum where you start getting into, okay, well, now there's swearing in this, so now it's not friendly for all advertisers. There's violence in this. It's not friendly for all advertisers. So you got to try to almost find that sweet spot with all this content, which I can understand is frustrating and makes it tough because you got to be really picky and choosy about what you show in your videos. Actually, one comment that I didn't get in here that I want to hit on quick is someone said that they heard, and this is a huge myth, that if there's toys in the background, like your videos, I could be talking about baseball, Major League Baseball, and if there happens to be a toy in the background, that YouTube's going to see that, and now my content is for kids. That is not true. Like, YouTube does have the ability to see what's in your videos, but if my whole video is, like, not about toys, like, again, what is the video audience geared towards? Like, who am I making that video for? If I'm making a video for an adult, then no, just because there's a toy in the background doesn't mean I'm going to be marked as kids content. So I want to debunk that myth. Like, that's a huge one. But, toy reviewers, animators, all that, as far as both the people watching and the people viewing, again, it comes down to the actual video. So YouTube's going to look at that actual video, and based on who they think the video is geared towards, anyone watching that video, if they think it's geared towards kids, they're going to treat those people like kids, whether you're an adult or not. If the content in YouTube's eyes, or you mark a box when they add that feature that it is for kids, and someone's watching it, YouTube doesn't care how old that person is. They're going to view that person as a kid. Okay, that's basically what they've been handed from the FTC, that the way they have to handle this. If it seems like it's more for adults, then they're probably going to treat more people like adults. So if the content seems like it's geared more for adults, then people's data might, be collected or whatever the case may be. So that's how it's going to affect it, pretty much across the board, whether we're talking animations, toy reviews, Legos, gaming. Like, that's another comment that I got. A lot of people are asking about gaming channels. Same thing, like Minecraft, right? You could gear a video about that completely for adults. You could do it completely for kids. There's games like, let's say, like Mortal Kombat, where there's more violence. That's clearly more for adults, right? So it's not like an across-the-board thing. It's not just because you make video game content that it's necessarily for kids or for adults. It really depends on the nature of the content. Next one says, people who make art dolls and toys should switch to calling them fine art figurines or pop culture or pop art collectible figurines. I think that is an awesome idea. Really, really good idea. That's from Janine Kurzinger. You know, again, she's going on that path, and I'm basically trying to tell you guys too, is like, if you don't want your content to be looked at for kids, then when you title it, when you talk about it, when you put it in the description, anything about that content, try to make the language more geared towards adults. Kids probably aren't going to search for fine art figurines. Kids probably aren't going to search for pop art collectible figurines. Now, again, though, there's another issue with that, is that maybe not as many people are searching for that. They're probably searching for the word dolls, art dolls. That being said, I feel like if the language is art dolls, even that, like if you title it art dolls, to me that implies, and again, it just depends on what YouTube thinks, but to me that implies like, okay, art dolls, like I don't think a kid would search for art dolls. They're just going to search for cool dolls or dolls, you know, in general. They just watch any doll videos. So I think if you have the word art in there, to me that kind of changes the context already. But again, we don't know. So this one's from Kelly Yahya. She says it's not the responsibility of YouTube or the FTC to monitor what children watch. It's the parents' responsibility. For the most part, I agree. As long as the kid, you know, is on the YouTube Kids app. And I think so like, and again, that would come back to the parent. Like the parent should have the kid on the YouTube Kids app. And if they don't, that's on them. That being said, I think some of the issues come into play with the FTC as far as that kids are being, you know, are on the kids app and their data was being tracked. That's where FTC had the issue. So, you know, that again, this whole situation, there's so many little like sticky little details that have to be considered with it. But if a kid is on the kids app, basically, you know, good job on the parent. YouTube says, you know, hey, that's where they should be, but the FTC says we don't want that data tracked, so because of that, the kids creators aren't going to make the money. You know, or I shouldn't say make the money. They're not going to make as much money, and they're going to lose comments and notifications, all that stuff. So, yeah, a lot to think about there as far as, you know, whose responsibility is it. But at the end of the day, the FTC has already decided. So I guess there's really not much that we can do on that side anymore. Braxton Plays wants to know, can kids still post, or are there getting rid of notifications and comments? So I think basically he's asking if kids can still post videos. And the answer is yes, but with a lot of limitations. You're not going to, you know, so I think that was the second thing he was saying, or are they getting rid of notifications? Yeah, basically that's it. You won't, if you have kids, again, this is a gray area. If you have kids in your content, it doesn't necessarily make it kids content. If you have like kids in your video, if you have kids in your video and they're the main focus of it, and your audience, you know, because of that is more geared towards, or is the ideal audience is kids, or if let's say you totally make it like, hey, this is a video for kids to do this, and this. We're going to show you my kids doing this activity. Then that's for sure for kids, right? So then, yeah, you would lose notifications, you would lose comments, all that. But then there's like family vlog channels where they just happen to have kids in, but it's kind of got a broader audience. Again, that's kind of one of those gray areas. It's going to depend on how much kids are in it, how the content is geared, who it's geared towards, and then based on that, yeah, then maybe if it's geared towards if it seems like it's geared towards kids, you lose the comments and notifications. Again, like I've kind of hit on this with some of the other niches. So someone, Thumbs Up Man, says the end of gaming channels. Sad face. I don't think so. It's just the end of. It's not even the end of certain gaming channels. It just makes it a lot harder for certain gaming channels. If it's geared more towards kids, yeah, it's probably going to be a little bit harder. Again, you're going to want to think about putting in place some of the things that I give you at the end of this video. Any of the people that are going to be looked at as content for kids, you're going to want to think about looking at the options that I'm going to give you in the video that I'll link you to at the end. In that video, there's a lot of solutions that can help you out. Like, honestly, even as it is right now, you should be putting those in place because you could be getting a lot more views, subscribers, making a lot more money from your audience. And that will allow you to stay full-time, especially if your ad revenue goes down. So, you know, it doesn't have to be the end of gaming channels, you know, and it just makes it harder for certain channels that are geared towards kids, and you've got to be smarter about what you're doing. It's definitely going to cut out the competition. So maybe for a lot of people, look at it as an opportunity, because there's probably a lot of channels that are just like, well, that's it. I give up. So if you're one of the few that doesn't and learns how to adapt to it, you're going to have an edge. So here's an interesting one. Delaney Sins says, YouTube is now violating freedom of speech by disabling content or comments. And that is a really, really interesting topic. But I think since YouTube owns the platform, it's like being in a business establishment. That's like a sticky situation, right? It's their property. If you're like in a restaurant or a bar or wherever, the owners have the right to say, we don't want you talking like that. Get out of here. Now, I'm not saying that, that's okay or not okay, but legally they kind of have that right now. But at the same time, then you get into that sticky situation. Well, what about freedom of speech? So YouTube is kind of that same like restaurant, right? They own that platform. So really it's up to them to do what they want. But number two, you got to think about something is YouTube is doing this, but it's being directed by the FTC, which is basically the U.S. government. So if anyone's violating freedom of speech, it's the U.S. government. So that's another can of worms. Again, leave your comments on that. Rockstar Leafy says, seriously, YouTube really has a bad tendency to overcorrect in situations like this. I mean, YouTube Kids exists for a reason, and I agree. But again, I don't think this is like so much YouTube saying, this is what we have to do. I think a lot of this was directed by the FTC. And the changes weren't really up to them to make. And there is YouTube Kids for a reason, and still, the FTC had a problem with the kids' data being tracked on that app. So there you go. Like, it's not necessarily just that, it's about kids being on YouTube Kids or not being on YouTube Kids. It's about the data being tracked and a whole bunch more. The comments and some of the things going on with the comments and, people doing inappropriate things with the comment section. We'll just leave it at that. But again, it's the FTC. Betsy B says, I'm super worried. I have a crafting channel targeting moms to show them how to make their own party favors and decorations. Many involve designs that are appealing to kids, like a Barbie-themed paper decoration for a party. Wondering if the AI will screw me over. Well, I don't think so. Again, it comes down to gearing the content towards adults. I think if you do that, you'll be okay. But don't overemphasize, the Barbie maybe as much. I'm not saying you can't even use the word Barbie in your title. I don't know. We don't know for sure, but I think YouTube's going to look at this as if you're saying how to make party decorations for a Barbie party, well, then that's clearly for an adult, right? Like, kids could maybe look for that content, but the ideal audience is still probably going to be adults. So honestly, Betsy, I think you're going to be okay. But that's just me. I guess we'll see what happens. Next one from Pimos Vos Cafe Latte. Hopefully I said that right. Disney music also, ? That's a great question. And I think, that's a tough one. Honestly, I think probably, that's going to be looked at as for kids. Because let's be honest, most Disney movies adults watch it, but the primary audience is kids. Now, I don't know, a lot of adults do like the Disney songs. If you're just talking about playing Disney songs, and doing covers and trying to just get people to, react to your voice and build an audience around that, like your musicality, that's a gray area again. I think, though, overall, like, you're probably looking at that's probably going to be looked at as more towards kids. I guess we'll see. Vegan Mom 86 says, I feel bad for all involved. I just started my channel and I was going to do picnics and tea parties with my kids. So I guess not now, just recipes, but can I have my kids cook with me or show them eating the food? Confusing, please answer. And I think you're probably okay. Again, I would gear your content towards moms, right? And the recipes, I think, is great. You could definitely, I think, show them cooking with you and eating, especially if you're gearing the content more towards moms or just more of an adult, broader audience, moms or dads. I think you could even do tea parties and picnics with your kids. I think it's just in how you present the content. How is the messaging, and what is the main goal of the video? Are you saying, today we're going to try to see if we can, get this picnic done in a half hour with minimal cleanup or whatever the case may be. And just, again, presenting it towards like, okay, this is something that would more interest moms. Not like, hey, we're going to have some fun today. Come watch us do our picnic. That presentation versus here's 5 tips to make the most out of your picnics with your kids. Or we're going to go on a picnic with my kids today, and here's some tips along the way that will show you that will help you make the most of that picnic and get some good quality time with your kids. That really changes the goal of that video or the audience, like all that, right? The message of the video. So something to keep in mind. Supersonic Blade says, do you think it would affect me? I make my content teen rated. For example, I make plush videos. Would adding minimal cussing and adult jokes help me, or am I completely screwed because I make plush videos? Well, I don't really know what plush videos is necessarily, but I think if you're gearing it towards teens, you should be okay. I think some adult jokes, as long as you don't get too crazy, wouldn't necessarily be the worst thing. Again, you don't want to start trying to get into that territory where your content seems more like it's, not suitable for all advertisers. I don't necessarily think cussing is the answer either for that matter, because again, then it might not be suitable for all advertisers. I just think, again, who are you gearing the content towards? How is your messaging geared towards your audience? And, again, like the tips I gave in that last comment for, a mom going on picnics or whatever, I think a lot of those same tips would apply, really for all channels for that matter. Tamar Weiss wants to know, what if I am just a regular viewer that just wants to have fun on this platform and I might like things that YouTube might consider for kids, like video games and cartoons? How then am I going to be affected? Again, it's not like as far as YouTube has made it been, what they put out to the public, it's not like they're going to target you as being a kid, because again, you have to be 13 or older to sign up for an account. But again, we all know there's kids that aren't 13 using YouTube and watching YouTube. So the way they're basically making that assumption about your age is based on the video you're watching. So if you're watching a video that's for kids, so let's say you watch cartoons and video games, and those are clearly focused on a kid, or YouTube has decided that they're focused on a kid, the audience is for kids, then when you're watching those specific videos, your data will be treated like you are a kid. There won't be comments on those videos. You won't be able to get notifications of uploads for those videos because of the data tracking. You won't get targeted ads when you're watching those videos. But if there's video game and cartoons, or pretty much any other content for that matter, that's YouTube sees as geared towards adults, then when you're watching those videos, you'll be treated like an adult, from my understanding. Again, I don't know how this is going to work if like you watch a couple videos that were geared towards kids, if now they always have to treat you like a kid from that point forward. From my understanding, it's just based on the video you are watching, though, from what they've put out to the public at this point. And that is the last comment. Here is the video right here. I'll have it for you. And I'll also pin it to the top comment with some solutions to help you get more views. Like the second half of that video, you'll probably find the most helpful as far as how to keep your views going strong and increase your ad revenue. Definitely check those out. They will help you a lot. Leave me your comments with your thoughts as always. Thanks for watching. Go inspire someone today. Be sure to subscribe and turn on all notifications to catch the newest videos. And I will see you in that video next.